Expectations were high for me and the ECU Pirates going into my third year coaching the team. Last season would see ECU crack the top 10 while also beating BYU to win their first bowl game in years. ECU also won the CUSA Championship, which helped get them promoted to the new look American Conference along with some other CUSA teams. Since taking over ECU 2 years ago, the team has made a lot of progress, with the most notable being our senior quarterback Taylor Harris, who is currently sitting at a 93 overall. The team would start the year ranked at number 24 following the success of last year, and after coming into the season with a team overall of 84, we were projected to finish first in our new conference. With the talent on this team, we'd be looking to make a playoff push, especially considering we had a lot of seniors going into this year. So thankfully, against a lesser opponent, Rick Pollock was able to get things started off with our first touchdown of the entire year. Considering we were playing an FCS school, there was no surprise that we were up by 35 points late in the fourth quarter, and we were finally able to get a look at our new quarterback Sean Parrish, who was going to be taking over next year after Taylor Harris graduated. Parrish looks like a really good quarterback as he made some great throws and also showed off his running ability, and what would be a great first game from Rick Pollock and an amazing overall win by the team. Things would immediately be taking a turn as we'd be playing a top 10 ranked opponent in Miami, but I wasn't nervous going into this game because I believed in our offense to get the ball down the field, and the passing game was looking like it was going to carry us throughout the entirety of this year as Taylor Harris was looking amazing every time he threw the ball. He would take us all the way down the field running the read option, getting a touchdown. We would only find ourselves up by 6 points due to our kicker missing the extra point, and the Miami quarterback was looking like a grown man as he threw off one of our defenders, getting a touchdown, but the offense is still proving that they can move down the field as Harris was finding Babcock on the left side. That connection would prove fruitful yet again as Harris was able to find Babcock on the right side for another score. We were able to get the ball before half, getting 20 points on the board, and going into the fourth quarter, we were up by 7 points. The team had been playing amazing throughout the entirety of this game, and Harris was able to get another touchdown late in the fourth, and we were able to hold on to our lead from there, and what was a really good victory over a top 10 opponent. Our tough schedule would continue as we're playing number 3 Florida State in our very next game. Our offense had been struggling throughout the entirety of this game, and it was proving that Florida State was a formidable opponent, but thankfully Taylor Harris was able to get our offense all the way down the field and get a touchdown. After tying up the game, our defense was able to get a stop, so our offense was trying to get down the field, but Taylor Harris would fumble the ball, leading to a touchdown by FSU, and with only 25 seconds left and no timeouts, we were moving down the field until Rick Pollock dropped the ball, leading to an interception, and from there we would suffer a devastating loss to a top 3 opponent. We were looking to get things going again against UTSA, and this would be big for us as we had tons of recruits coming to this game. Even after that loss, we didn't move in the polls as we were still sitting at 15th in the nation, and like normal, Harris was able to get us on the board first, finding his tight end Derek Johnson. Harris's game was looking amazing so far this year, but one problem he had was holding onto the ball too much, and that showed here again as he got stripped, leading to a UTSA touchdown. We would bounce back on our very next drive, getting another score, but UTSA would catch us off guard running a fake field goal, and they would get a touchdown from that, and I was not happy with how this game had been going thus far. In the middle of me cussing out my defensive coordinator, my defense on the sideline, Harris made a great throw to Ricky Crawford on the right side, and he was able to get a touchdown right before halftime. Our team decided to turn it on from there, as on the first play of the second half, Harris decided to throw it up to Babcock on the left side, and he was able to bring it in and use his legs to get a score. From there, we would go on to hold on to our lead, and what became a dominating victory over the Roadrunners. 3 people would commit to our team after that game, as we were going into our next game against FAU, and they were becoming one of our rivals. As mentioned earlier, there were several Conference USA teams that joined the American Conference, and FAU was one of those teams, and I wasn't happy about it because every single time we played them, they would always give us a struggle. After our defense gave up a touchdown first, we were able to answer back on our first drive, but it didn't matter as FAU would go straight down and score yet again. And I needed some points, only down by 7 in the first half. Harris was able to find Ricky Crawford on the right side for a big touchdown. After tying up the game, we had the ball left with 15 seconds left in the first half, and Ricky Crawford was able to break away from defenders, getting another huge play touchdown. Fast forward to the fourth quarter, we found ourselves down by 3 points due to some terrible play from our defense, and Taylor Harris decided to fumble the ball, which he had been doing every single game. And after FAU got a field goal, we were down by 6 points late in the fourth quarter, but Ricky Crawford was trying to make that change. Our offense was able to get all the way down the field, and Rick Pollock was able to pull off a 15-yard touchdown, but FAU only needed a field goal to win this game, and they had all of their timeouts, and after this play on first down, they were able to get in the field goal range, and from there, they would kill all the clock, kicking the game-winning field goal, and what would be another heartbreaking loss by 2 points to the Owls. That loss would drop us to 4th in our side of the American Conference, but I wasn't worried about it because it was still early on in the season, and thankfully for us, we had an easy opponent in Rice the very next game. Even though we had 2 losses at this point of the season, we were still sitting at top 20 in the nation, and right before halftime, we were able to go up by 17 points. We'd put the nail in the coffin late in the fourth quarter, going up by 31, and what was a dominating performance on all sides of the ball. We traveled to Florida to play USF in our next game, and we were looking to keep the momentum going, and Harris was able to do that on the first play, finding Derek Johnson for a huge 32-yard play. Later that drive, Harris was able to find Ray Babcock on the left side off the slant, getting a touchdown. Our defense would give up 3, and on a crucial third down conversion, Harris was able to sit in the pocket and somehow make this pass all the way to Crawford, and only a play later, he would find him yet again for a score. We were up by 17 points late in the first half, and Harris was able to find Ricky Crawford on the right side, and it was great to see him making all these plays, but it was also saddening because he was a senior and wouldn't be here next year. Our team would add insult to injury late in the fourth quarter, and what was another dominating win for the Pirates. We'd be back home playing in rainy weather against Temple in our very next game, and this game was crucial as we had tons of recruits coming to this one. We were sitting at 13th in the nation, and our offense was looking to get off to a good start, and after getting 6 points on the board in our first drive, we were able to go all the way down the field yet again, getting a touchdown from Rick Pollock. Our passing game was looking unstoppable each and every week, and Crawford was getting close to the end zone. We were also proving to teams that we could still run the ball, getting another score. We'd find ourselves up by 6 points late in the fourth quarter, looking to kill some of the clock, but on that play I noticed that Harris is out of the game, and that's due to him having a bruised hand. From there, we would have to rely on Sean Parrish to run the rest of the offense, and hopefully if things went accordingly, he wouldn't even have to pass the ball. But after that big play from Rick Pollock, Sean Parrish was able to pass the ball, getting close to the end zone, and from there Rick Pollock was able to put the nail in the coffin, getting a score. That would lead to us getting a 2-possession victory as we would head into our game against 1-7 SMU. From the jump, this game was never close, and what was a 28-point victory against the Stangs. 9 games into the season, we found ourselves sitting back again at the top of our side of the American. We'd be traveling to Texas in our next game for a big matchup against the Longhorns, and we still control our destiny as we were sitting at number 10 in the nation this far into the season, even with 2 losses. Luckily for us, we would get all the way down the field and get on the board first, and if we were to win out the rest of the season, not only would we make the American Conference Championship, but we would have a good chance of making the college football playoffs due to both of our losses being to good teams. But we had to focus on this game first, and Harris was finding one of his favorite targets in Crawford on the right side, and he was able to make a step back play, and after going up by 14, Texas would tie the game late in the 4th quarter. Our offense had been controlling the clock the entirety of this game. We were looking to do that here, and with less than 20 seconds left, we were able to get a score. And with only 4 seconds left in the game, we found ourselves up by 7 points, and as long as our defense didn't give up a touchdown, which they didn't do, we would find ourselves getting another big win against a good team. We were ranked number 7, traveling back home playing against North Texas, and there would be a plethora of recruits visiting this game. We found ourselves up by 15 points late in the 3rd quarter, and Ricky Crawford continued making big plays every single game. It was truly going to be sad to see Harris and Crawford go at the end of this year, but focusing on this game now, we were absolutely dominating North Texas, and we had an insult to injury yet again. That led to us getting a huge win against North Texas, and after that game, we would find ourselves in the top 5 in the nation. And going into the last game of the year, we were still sitting atop the American. For our last game of the year, we'd be playing the Green Wave, and with them sitting at a 6-5 record, we were looking to dominate this game as we wanted to continue making a playoff push. Luckily, we were able to go up by multiple possessions early on, and right before the end of the first half, we were able to add on to our lead with the Babcock score on the left side. We would hold on to that lead for the remainder of the game as Rick Pollock was able to make a big play late in the 4th quarter, and what was yet another dominating victory for us. After that game, we'd still be 5th in the nation, but luckily for us, the number 1 and 2 team in the nation would be playing each other in the conference championship. We'd be seeing double as we'd be playing Tulane in back-to-back games, as this game had a lot more riding on it as this was for the conference championship. Our defense was able to hold them to 3 points in their first possession, and that was great for us as our offense was looking unstoppable as they were getting down the field easy and often. And in the middle of the 2nd quarter, Taylor Harris was able to find Zeph Carter for an easy touchdown. The Green Wave would drive all the way down the field yet again, but our defense would get a crucial stop on 3rd down, and on the first play of the very next possession, Harris was able to find his receiver, and he slipped away from a couple defenders, and he was able to use his legs to get all the way down the field getting a score. Late in the 4th quarter, we'd be up by 11 and add more points to the board. And I'm sorry, Tulane fans, but we'd go on to destroy you guys yet again, and what was a great game from Taylor Harris. In our first year of switching conferences, we were able to claim the American Conference Championship. Before going into bowl week, Taylor Harris was able to finish the season with the most passing yards in the league, and looking at his stats here, you could see how much he jumped up each and every year. Rick Pollock was able to finally crack the 1,000-yard rushing mark, and our 2 number 1 receivers, Babcock and Crawford, both had over 12 touchdowns and almost 1,000 yards, but it would be rough as they would both be leaving at the end of this year. Luckily for us, we were able to make the college football playoffs, and we'd be playing Utah in our first game. This is going to be our most difficult game of the year as Utah was a very good opponent, and after they were able to get the first touchdown of the game, our offense was looking to move down the field and score again, but after driving down the field, Harris made a terrible throw to a wide open receiver, and he ended up throwing an interception, and Utah would score on that drive, and Harris was proving that he wasn't ready for this game. Harris had been making bad throws all game, and he ended up throwing another interception, and before we knew, we were down by 18 points in the 3rd quarter, and just look at this play here. This proves right here that we were not ready for this game as the Utah running back was able to run over every single defender that touched him on his way to a touchdown. We were down by a lot late in the 4th, and we were able to make the score look a little bit better, and we were able to do the same thing yet again on the next drive. We would go on to suffer a crushing defeat in Taylor Harris's last game as an ECU Pirate, but mark my words, we would be back here next year. Army would go on to dominate Utah in the college football championship, and it was great to see that Taylor Harris etched his name into East Carolina history by breaking several records throughout the course of the season, along with Ricky Crawford breaking one as well. Even though we didn't win a bowl game, this was by far our best season so far, but things would be difficult going into next year as we had a lot of seniors leaving our team, including Taylor Harris and our 2 best receivers, Ricky Crawford and Ray Babcock. Finally had some players that were drafted into the NFL, and it's great to see. Luckily for us, we were able to pull in the 8th best class in the nation, and this class was able to fill in a lot of the pieces that we'd be missing going into our next year as we had a lot of good recruits coming and a lot of high 70 overalls. Due to our depth at the running back position, I ended up converting Rick Pollock back to his original wide receiver position, and that would make him the number 1 receiver going into the next year, as the team was going to look a lot different, especially with Sean Parrish leading the way. Comment down below now your projections on next year and how we're going to finish and if we're going to make the college football playoffs for the 2nd year in a row.